Welcome to another episode of the Residency Match Insiders. Today we're going to talk about community programs versus academic programs and what I do as a hospitalist. So maybe it gives you an idea of, where you're going to point your alternatives and how are you going to apply for this new match cycle. Why? Because I've seen everything. I've seen people that applies to only university programs and leaves the community programs on the side, and that's not ideal. I've seen people that applies to internal medicine and also to dermatology or surgery just because they had the dream of doing surgery when they were growing or when they were starting medical school, and it doesn't really benefit your application. You have to really, first of all, you have to know who you are, know where you are standing with your scores, with your experience, your likelihood of matching based on the visa requirements that you have or not, because all those little things matter. Those are things that are studied that are heavy influencers on you getting a spot or not. So every year matters, right? Every year counts. So if you don't match this year, there's a lot of money lost and a lot of time lost, and you should apply. You're going to apply it to the next year, and if you're not receiving the guidance that you need, it may take a long time. So for the ones trying to decide on academic versus community program, same duration of time, and the academic programs have more residencies in place. So there's going to be an anesthesia, surgery, also fellowships like critical care. So the little intern on internal medicine or family practice that needs to practice intubation, central lines, arterial lines, um, code responses is not going to be able to get as much. Why? Because all these people are trying to get the same experience that you need. And no more interesting cases necessarily at an university center, depending on where you are. If you're a fellow, you may get those interesting cases that are referred from the periphery hospitals. Like my case, I'm in a peripheral hospital and we are not an academic center, we're a community program, a small community program. And when I have a complicated case that no one in my hospital can take care of, um, and then I need a special surgeon, a hepatic biliary surgeon that is specific for this specific area of the biliary duct, then I have to send them, for example, to UCLA. And who receives them there? Not the intern on internal medicine or family practice. It is received by the fellow on biliary fellowship or the GI fellow. See, so depending on where in your career, you may or may not receive those interesting cases, uh, but not necessarily you see more interesting cases in one place or the other. I would say that here in my hospital, I will receive complex and very simple patients in a 50-50 um, distribution. If you are all about, you want to be exposed to different ethnicities and cultures, United States is the place to do that. There's different ethnicities and different cultures, but being on an academic center versus a community program doesn't determine that. What that is determined by is by the geographic location. For example, California for me is heavy on Hispanics, and there are areas in California that are heavy on um, Indian patients or heavy on Asian patients. Is very it, it's very different on different areas. So it's not determined by academic or community program. So that's another point. Of course, if you're an academic center, your likelihood of being exposed to a fellowship program that can, put eyes on you is higher than if you're in a little community program. But what compensates for this is that in either or program, you have an elective rotation where you choose where you're going to rotate for a certain specialty or an elective thing that you choose on your own. So you could say, as an intern in an internal medicine program in, I don't know, in a community program, you could find a rotation at a university center for cardiology, for interventional cardiology. So you go for that rotation of 1 month to that center, and you are exposed to the fellowship people. And if you work super hard, you may catch their eye. See, that's a way around. It's more, I would say, it's for the people I know that come from my community program that have much into cardiology or critical care. It's more about the hard work that you put on rather than just being on a community on an academic center. Okay. Next part of this talk is job satisfaction after residency. So after finishing residency either in either of these places, the pay is the same. The pay is the same. It's the same average for the whole state that you're practicing at. Different states have different pays, but it depends on the how desirable is life in this state that the pay will be less. So, for example, in California, the average for a hospitalist like me is $250,000 a year. For Alaska, we can be talking $400,000, $500,000 a year, but it comes with sacrificing a lifestyle or a way of living. Um, what else? Okay, so same pay, and if you decide to work or after residency you decide to continue working at a university center, an academic center, the pay is even less, and the work is more. Why? Because you have to teach. If you're private, you don't have to teach. You have to work for your own, for yourself. Also, after residency, depending on the specialty that you have chosen, um, you have to decide if you're going to be outpatient or inpatient, or a hybrid of both these. So, for example, I am family practice and I am only inpatient. I'm a hospitalist. I only work at the hospital. I work 7 days in a row, and then I stop working for 7 days for a total of 14 shifts a month. And during my weeks off, I don't do anything at all. I just enjoy life and I rest. And it wasn't the same 2 years ago or 4 years ago when I recently started working. I was working every single day for 2 years trying to save money to buy a house. And I did. I worked super hard. I got myself on my weeks off into doing hospice care, wellness visits, and doing a skilled nursing facility visits. So I pretty much doubled for those 2 years my salary. Was it worth it? I got the house, but I actually I think I got very tired those 2 years. So if there wasn't balance at that time, now there is balance. I don't do anything on my days off, but I'm more stable. Um, so it depends. It depends on what are your goals. Are your goals? You have to define your goals. If your goal to make more money in any specialty in medicine, if you want to make more money just based on your job as a doctor, more money comes only with more work. There's no passive income in medicine. You want more money, you have to work extra shifts, do more procedures, sacrificing life with your family, less time with your family. And it's the same for any specialty. And if you want a career, if you want to be a very, very a special doctor, like the, I don't know, uh, hepatobiliary surgeon, then you have to finish surgery, you have to go through 1 or 2 fellowships, and that will be a total of 10 years, sacrificing, the opportunity to have kids, the opportunity to enjoy your family, to see your kids growing. So you have to decide what are you going to be. Are you going to be a family person or a business person or a very specialized doctor? So just know that. And what are the cons and pros of now that we talk about all about this, what are the pros or the cons of an academic center? So let's start with the cons. No more money, and more work, and why? Because there's more paperwork for a patient to get your special care. Um, there's more paperwork to fill, and usually it's on you. You have to sign a lot of papers, present why this patient needs such surgery and cannot be done by another person. Um, it can be frustrating at times because a lot of these patients that are transferred to these academic centers are uninsured or no insured at all. And so it's very difficult for you to be able to do follow up. Even if you, out of your good heart, want to do a free follow up, your clinic may not allow that because his insurance doesn't allow a patient to be seen by you. See, and that would frustrate me. And more work, more money, that's a con on every single job. And there's no more traveling in if you're on any, I would say on any specialty in medicine, you will have to be super, super special to be able to travel interstate. Like you see in movies. Oh, they call me to work on this hospital in Seattle, and so this week I'm in California, and the next week I'm in Seattle, and the other week I'm gonna be in Vermont. It's such an interesting life. It's not. Why? Because as a physician, you have to get credential or get authorization from the states to work on each state. And that takes months. It's a very expensive process and it takes a lot of time. So no one wants to do that. I have only one license. I could have many licenses in different states, but it's so costly. It doesn't really benefit me. It's a lot of work at the end of the year to file taxes. So I am very happy the way I'm working. So that's my I wouldn't do it. The pros, the if you specialize and you follow a fellowship, it's just that you get another title and you're considered special. But I like my life the way it is, and I wouldn't change it at this point in time. So yeah, guys. Remember to realize who you are, and you know your scores, you know your experience, you know your visa needs. If you have more disadvantages than advantages in your profile, then it will be a good idea to try to look up for the community programs rather than the academic programs. But if you're stellar and you have good scores and you can make it for an academic, go for it. Um, the At the end, after graduation, if you decide to be a hospitalist, you will be getting the same money anywhere. Um, so no difference. So up to you. Keep that in mind because the more programs you apply cost you more money and not necessarily give you more chances. So have a strategy to apply this year. Thank you.